It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming back at you for a special Shoe Shine Thursday night edition, a very special Shoe Shine edition because Drew, shout out to my co-host all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Drew Evo, good to have you. Saludos, how's it going? What's cracking?
I'm all right.
Well, Drew, we're here for a special show because obviously there's a lot of boxing on this weekend. We had a very good show on Monday night. Salute to everybody joining us for this special show. If you've seen the title, you got the big news. Is it the end of an era, Drew? As you know, as I'm thinking, this is like a Hall of Fame weekend. I think Hall of Fame weekend for boxing is underway in New York this weekend. We have some inductees. Manny Pacquiao going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame and fighting. That's fucking crazy. At the same time today, y'all heard the big news. One of Drew's favorite fighter, if not, I don't know. Is it your favorite fighter? Shout out to Lomachenko, an incredible
He's
career.
one of my favorite active fighters.
All right. Well, he wasn't so active towards the end of his career. Of course, you guys might remember that the Ukrainian war with Russia, he actually enrolled himself in that, and that took him away from the sport, as well as some pretty serious back injuries that we've been waiting to hear word on, Drew. Earlier this year, we were waiting the results of some serious MRIs and whatnot that he needed to know if he was going to be, you know, in shape enough as a 37-year-old warrior, 37-year-old soldier, 37-year-old future Hall of Fame fighter, 3-division champion. Could he still fight the very elite fighters at the division that he reigned upon at one point, 135, of course? Could he still fight these young guns like Keyshawn Davis fighting this weekend? Saludos, SB. Good to have you. F Donuts, Kevin 333. Appreciate you. Let's go. I got to ask you, Drew, what did you make about the news about the retirement? I do have a clip. Should we start off with the clip? Do you want to hear a little bit about him announcing his own retirement?
Yeah, why not? I heard it already, but I hear it again.
All right, let's hear a little bit of what he had to say here. Hopefully the screen share is working. Shout out to everybody joining us. Don't forget to hit that like button as you come in. It definitely helps the algorithm. Let's play this video. Play. You gonna play?
For everything he has done for me, for guiding a prideful young man down a path that ultimately showed me that fame, legacy and recognition are not the true purpose of life. I am grateful for every victory and every defeat, both in the ring and in a life. I am thankful that as my career comes to an end, I've gained clarity about the direction a person must take in order to achieve true victory, not just in the ring, but in overcoming the old self. Only then can one receive their true reward. I thank God for my wonderful, honest and kind parents, for their care, their love and their warmth I felt throughout my life. My father not only taught me art of boxing, but how to be a role model for my own children.
All right, this goes on for, it goes on for 3 minutes, guys. But he's very religious, of course, Orthodox Christian, most likely, thanking his father and, of course, the Lord and Christ and whatnot. I think it's admirable, Drew. He's had a pretty remarkable career, over 400 amateur wins, only one loss as an amateur, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. That's remarkable in itself. But I think back about all the fights that I got to watch Lomachenko, an 11-year professional career. I seen them all. I saw each and every fight. In fact, I was privy. I had just moved to Las Vegas, and my wife and I went to the Lomachenko fight versus Haney. And wouldn't you know it, saludos to my homeboy Fonzie619 in the chat. Fonzie had no idea he was a huge boxing fan. Fonzie was sitting in the same section as us. And there began the relationship of us all going to the fights and this great group of friends we've developed in Vegas for a fight where I thought Lomachenko got robbed in that one. Let's quickly go through some of these great fights, Drew. And I'm going to ask you which are some of your most memorable and some of your favorite ones, man. An incredible career started. First professional fight, October 13th, Jose Luis Ramirez at the Thomas and Mack Center, which hasn't had a fight in a very long time. What were your favorite memorable fights, Drew?
How he dominated Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell was top 5 pound for pound at the time, and arguably could have been pound for pound between number 2 and 5 and everything. But he was in top 5, and Loma dominated him with ease and almost stopped him. Practically won every round against Gary Russell. It wasn't even close. And like making Nicholas Waters quit in the corner, making guys that Nicholas Waters coming off a big knockout win over Nonito Donaire.
Yeah. Nicholas Walter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 professional fight.
Making easy work of him, making easy work of Regendale, making him quit also. And people could say, oh, he blown him up for 126. But here's the thing: when you people ask for the fight, you can't use that as an excuse. When the majority of people want to see that fight, and you got the fight you want. Lomachenko dominated him. He outboxed him, and he made him quit. So I don't know what the issue was. And in the defeats, Loma, he was robbed against Devin Haney. And I think people that scored it for Haney, the points that Roddy won it wasn't good points, because he actually only had 4 good rounds in that fight. In that whole fight, he only had 4 good rounds, Devin Haney.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Drew, because I was sitting with a bunch of Devin Haney fans in the same row, and all of them, as the fight was being announced, as the scorecards were about to be announced, they looked at me and were like, oh, fuck. Because, I was letting them know, hey, I'm from the Bay, and, Haney his father's from Oakland, California. They all were looking at me and were like, Haney lost that shit. And we were all just stunned when they actually read the scorecards.
And then, the Teofimo fight where, he came back and almost won that fight. And he came on too late, but yeah, people could say, he had a bad shoulder in that fight, but he came back, he came on too late. And people say, oh, you can't use it as an excuse, but the guy that he fought didn't want duck the rematch, and even got caught out by fans doing live interviews that the fight Lomachenko, he still want to give him a rematch. So he ducked. So the guy that beat him ducked him for a rematch. So I think I look at it. And I was looking at comments on certain videos, and they say, "Oh, Haney ended him," and I hit that, and I replied to that fan, "How the hell did Haney end his career when the last guy he fought was Kambosos, and he destroyed Kambosos?" I'm like, dude, Devin Haney ain't all great. He got exposed in that Ryan Garcia fight. He looks like shit now. Stop saying that, man. You don't know shit about boxing. And I look at it, he made the so-called face of American boxing ducked him for so long. And then people say, oh, he ducked Tank later on, in 2024. You can't lowball somebody you've been ducking and then expect them to take $2.5 million. And then went and say, hey, I want to see, and then beat Kambosos. Tell you the truth, he beat both Haney and Kambosos with a bad back. So I look at it as in Loma went out as a champion. Loma went out on an impressive win. I think Loma, when he got his back checked, they told him, dude, it's never going to be 100% again. You're 37 years old. It could probably be a lot worse if you keep fighting. And on the advice of doctors and everybody, I think he called it a career for what's best for him as the long run. So
yeah, well, let's ask the chat, guys. He had 400 amateur fights, 1 loss, and he started his career professionally kind of late. But do you guys think he made the right call at 37 years old? Boxing is not a young man sport, particularly in the lower weight classes. It's not a young man sport. And why continue to fight the young guns that are hitting their peak only to potentially become a gatekeeper? He retires as the champion, and now Raymond Murataya, very exciting for Raymond Murataya, who just won the interim title, is most likely, I've not heard officially, but he is going to be elevated to full champion status. And in just a bit, we're going to go over the current landscape of the 4 champions at 135. Drew, I want to share with you that actually Lomachenko is one of my favorite fighters of this generation, but some of the most memorable fights to me are the ones that he had in defeat. Today, I was reading a story because Bob Arum, well, he was quite emotional. It was one of his favorite fighters that he signed. When Lomachenko went to sign with a promoter as a professional, he went and asked all of them, can you get me a world title shot in my first fight? He was most impressed with Bob Arum, and Bob Arum kept it straight and real with him. He said, man, I'm not going to be able to get you a title fight in your first fight, but maybe your second fight. And indeed he did. He kept his promise. Lomachenko signs with Bob Arum, Top Rank. Orlando Salido, guys, his second pro fight, March 14th, Alamo Dome, San Antonio, for the WBO World Featherweight vacant title. Let me take you back, because Orlando Salido was already 41 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws. This guy had 55 pro fights, and he was coming into fight Lomachenko's second career fight, a title fight on the line. Okay, a title fight on the line. Orlando Salido famously blows through the featherweight limit, 126 pounds. Lomachenko forced to concede and say, shit, I am eligible to win this title tonight. Salido, to my recollection, Drew, came in well over 4 or 5 pounds, really heavy. So he already naturally had the size advantage, which maybe it was calculated. Maybe he was just eating too many tacos. Whatever it was, Orlando Salido, with all that veteran, rugged Mexican tactics, every veteran tactic that he had in the book, accumulated over 50 pro fights. I saw him and I was excited as fuck. I'm like, he's actually beating Lomachenko. He is beating a guy with over 400 amateur fights. Not eligible. He upsets him. Orlando Salido in a fight where Lomachenko was certainly supposed to win. Orlando Salido plays the upset. Armando Resendez style this weekend against Caleb Plant. Comes in and upsets one of the greatest Olympians ever. But it was in that fight that I noticed that I first said, wow, Loma's going to be something special, because this guy's not used to losing. And he had everything stacked against him. He did not win that title. Orlando Salido didn't win it either, right? It ended up being vacant.
Well, if
but
you
in
look
the
at it, Orlando was blowing them the whole time and doing tactics the whole time. Loma wasn't experienced enough to argue if he just kept on going. But Loma came.
He didn't bitch. Yeah, you're right about that. He didn't bitch about it.
Loma, people are saying Loma should have won the fight still, because Loma almost stopped him later on in the fight. He was hurting Salido and everything. And Salido had to clinch more. And it didn't benefit. I think Salido didn't think he could beat Loma clean. So to outweigh him, and people was, and actually, Dave, it was 8 pounds.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And you look at it. If you look at the whole thing, he almost knocked out a Salido that was probably gained 10, 15 pounds more on the official scale too. So and after that next fight, Salido, it really affected his next fight. I think was his last fight, because he got brutally destroyed in his last fight.
Yeah, actually, I do remember that. For Salido, it was probably one of the most memorable career fights for him, because he did pull off the upset, albeit, like you said, Drew, probably came in 15 pounds over the featherweight limit on fight night. Carlos M says, hashtag the blueprint. Well, maybe it was the blueprint to upset him. But in the very, very next fight, It was supposed to be a sure win for Lomachenko. In the very next fight, he takes on, just like you said, Gary Allen Russell Jr., at the time, a top pound-for-pound guy himself for the WBO World Featherweight Championship. It was vacant, still vacant because nobody picked it up. Defeats him. Defeats a top echelon American fighter. And as you said, Drew, he goes on to defeat Nicholas Walters, who had a major win against Nonito Donaire at the time when Nonito Donaire was the fucking shit, obviously. Excuse my language. Rocky Martinez for the WBO Super World Featherweight title at 130 pounds. In just his 8th fight, wins his 2nd world title at 130 pounds. Goes on for a good run, guys. Miguel Mariaga, Jason Sosa, Guillermo Rigondeaux, of course, a fantastic fighter, beats him. Guillermo Rigondeaux at the time was undefeated and had upset and embarrassed Nonito Donaire as well. Goes on to beat Jorge Linares in his prime. This was a prime Jorge Linares. Jose Pedraza was pretty much in his prime. Jose Pedraza was only 25-1 and had only a loss to Gervonta Tank Davis. That was a very impressive win. Win over Olympian Luke Campbell, that eventually even got knocked out and ended his career by Ryan Garcia. And that leads us to the great fight that would turn the tables for someone we're going to talk about a lot today. We have to talk about him because he is in the news quite a bit. I'm talking about the fight against Teofimo Lopez, where Teofimo Lopez shocked the world and, in my opinion, beat Loma fair and square. Beat him fair and square. A fight where the fight got away from Lomachenko. Not quite the blueprint that Chicano Prophet was talking about. Carlos M was just talking about, the blueprint that Salido did, but it was an athletic showcase performance by Teofimo where he cleanly beat the great Lomachenko. Lomachenko's 2nd career loss. Take us back to that night. It happened here at the MGM Grand Las Vegas where I live, Drew. What were your thoughts watching Teofimo? Were you thinking, damn, maybe Teofimo really is the goods, man? A young fighter at the time, too.
I looked at it. He was using more of his height and his strength against Loma, pressuring him and everything, backing him up. But I look at it like this: after the 4th round, it looked like Loma finally woke up a little bit, started making the moves. He hurt Teo a couple times in that fight. Teo, it looked like, hey, Teo needed to win the last round to get a draw. To get a win. If Loma would have won that last round, we possibly could have been looking at a draw in that fight. But Teo lands like the most of any Loma opponent. I think it was 45 punches in the final round, I believe. But it looked like you could see how Teo. You can also really see how Teofimo can be beaten too, because Teo started fading a little bit in that fight as the fight progressed, and it looked like that. Hey, there's a way how you can beat Teofimo in this fight, but you have to be able to pack a punch too. And if you look at it, I had a 7-5 Teofimo.
Right.
In that fight.
I did too.
So I just look at it as in Teofimo says he wasn't going to give me a rematch if he won. I'm like, but here's the thing. He's the champion. He doesn't technically have to give you a rematch if he beats you. He didn't understand, and like his dad was delusional, probably drunk as fuck the night of the fight and everything, but he didn't get the point that after that fight it put something on him that he thought he became a Hall of Famer. And he thought that it was the biggest accomplishment that this is, I'm a Hall of Fame fighter now because I beat the great Lomachenko. But the thing about it is, After that fight, it started to be a little, sort of his downfall, Teofimo, mentally and physically. Because mentally, people ask him, are you going to give Loma a rematch? He's like, no, I don't got to because he wasn't going to give me one. And people start looking at him and like, dude, why would he give you a rematch if he beats you? He was a champion.
Right.
And
all right.
And then the Cambosis fight came and everything that got postponed it a couple of times. And then he was having interviews on a fight set during the fight cards. And a security guard from that event, a police officer, asked him out of nowhere, because they did a Q&A, why would you fight Lomachenko again? Why don't you give him a rematch? And he said, I feel like I don't have to give him one. And people say, but you simply want the best. You simply want to fight the best. You deserve that dude deserves a rematch. And as a champion, you deserve that. You're entitled to you should give him a rematch if you want to prove yourself. And he was like, I don't gotta prove nothing to nobody. I fight for me. I don't care what fans think of me. And I think he wasn't going to give me a rematch, and they brought up the same thing. Why would he give you a rematch if he was a champion? Come on, Tio. Like, you think it? Like, would you give a dude a rematch if you was a champion in the first place? And he wouldn't answer it. And a lot of fans called him out. A lot of his fans turned on him during that Cambosis fight, Loma, drug up. A lot of fans turned on him. Mainly, the main reason why of him not giving Lomachenko a rematch, and they called him a duck, and it pissed him off. His dad was pissed off about it. Said these fans, fuck these fans. We don't care what they think. They turn on us. They turn on you for good reason, dude. You're delusional as fuck, and you just want to give somebody a rematch, claiming you'll fight anybody. If you fight anybody, you will fight Lomachenko again. And, he wound up losing the Cambosis. That was the downfall. And people say, he took that from taking that punch from that big guy. Doesn't matter. He put himself in that position.
Hey, Drew, we got Carlos M, a.k.a. Chicano Prophet from the chat, who has his own channel right here, guys, and he does some great coverage of the sport himself. Saludos, Carlos. Good to have you on the show. Everything working here? Can we hear you loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah. Drew, you got him? You can hear him?
Yeah.
So, Carlos, big news, obviously, in the lightweight division today. Officially now we got word, that the great Lomachenko is retired. I want to know what your thoughts on that, and if you want to maybe discuss some of Drew's points and some of your own points.
Sure. Well, I think it's worth it to come on and give Lomachenko a salute, man. He's been very entertaining for a long time. There was a lot of hype for him. I saw it all. I watched his whole career, and I never missed a Loma fight. Always very entertaining. Sure, I like to make fun of kind of like the Ukrainian dance lessons, his speed goals, his training with his balls and pointing at the sign or whatever the hell he does, right? But damn, he was good in the ring. Fast hands, fast feet, combinations, made his way up. I don't know if you guys you guys were going through his career. I don't know if you guys talked about the Rigo win, right? But I mean, he has just a slew of really good wins. And he was always entertaining, so it's worth saluting him. I think boxing is going to miss him. I'm going to miss him. If we had a lot of Lomachenkos run around boxing would be better for it. But, and we got the opportunity to hear Drew gripe about the Teofimo Lomachenko fight one last time, and that was very satisfying.
It might be the very last time. And that being said, I don't want to take the limelight away from Loma, but there's some huge news going on today with obviously Teofimo. It's very important news this entire week. First off, the week started with the Devin Haney fight falling apart at the last minute. Everybody thought, including BoxingScene.com reported, that it was a done deal. And then we go on to find out the very next day that Teofimo Lopez has not signed a fight with Devin Haney. And then today, we get the big news here, guys. Let me read you this statement, and I'll have both of your take on this. But Teofimo, his manager, Keith Connolly, co-manager of Teofimo Lopez, reports. He says, unfortunately, Teo will not be fighting in August for personal reasons that I will keep confidential. We want to thank His Excellency for the opportunity and everything he has done for Teo. We planned on fighting, but with what was going on, he wanted to make sure he was 100% right mentally and physically. And August was just too quick of a turnaround. I expect Teo to be back later this year, bigger and better than ever. It doesn't stop there, guys, because a very strange tweet came out today by TGB Promotions, guys. TGB Promotions is the promoter that PBC uses physically for their license to put on shows in Las Vegas. TGB Promotion posted this, half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, this Teofimo Lopez business. What does that mean? Is Teofimo going to PBC later this year, and that's why they didn't sign the fight with Devin Haney? Or is he really suffering from mental illness, guys? Shit, look at this tweet from, I got a tweet from Steve Kim. And Steve Kim brings up something very worthwhile. He says, not to be cold-hearted, savage, but Steve Kim has a question as serious as cancer. Is the mental health grift the new back injury for modern-day boxers? You know, the way to get out of fights without having to really show proof. Drew, what's going on with this Teo thing?
I talked to Chicano about this last night on the phone.
Okay.
I went to bed. We talked about this and everything. He asked my opinion on it. And then I asked his opinion on it. I think it's a complete duck. I'm sorry. When you're offered $11 million, this is the most you've probably ever been offered a fight. And you probably won't see this type of offer again because, let's be honest. He's not a pay-per-view star. He's nowhere near a pay-per-view star. Devin Haney's nowhere near a pay-per-view star. If this fight was on pay-per-view, this fight will barely surpass 100K. Let's keep it a beam right there. He ducked this fight. And no ands and for buts. Teofimo Lopez has ducked a pillow-fisted Devin Haney.
Duck?
And it's a fucking disgrace how he does all this shit and then ducks this fight. And I don't want to hear shit about Teofimo. I don't want to hear supporters say shit about it and everything. If they want to say shit and try to justify him ducking, they need to shut the fuck up. Stop dick sucking the dad, like they always do, because you have him on your show and you want to dick ride and everything. And you guys know who I'm talking about, and I clearly don't give a fuck about him and everything because he done some fucked up shit. And he got people fucking he got people getting fucking played with because they defended him. But I think it's a duck. And if you don't consider this a duck, I don't know what else we can consider a duck. How do you get off of $11 million for a winnable fight? Can we all agree this was a winnable fight for Teofimo?
That's a yes from me. I'm curious what Chicano says. $11 million. Drew says it's a duck, but I mean, for me to use the word duck, I have to feel like Teofimo was genuinely afraid of losing to Devin Haney. Devin Haney, who could barely beat Jose Ramirez just weeks ago. Chicano, is this a duck, or was $11 million simply not enough to motivate Teo to fight a runner, a track star like Devin Haney?
You make a really good point, Dave. It's like, who's scared of Devin Haney? But I get where Drew's too. Because if you think about it, dude, Teofimo would have eaten up Haney. Haney is food. And yes, there are these Devin Haney channels out there that are just taking it like a moral victory. They're doing a victory lap. And in the meantime, you see Teofimo, the loose cannon, running his mouth, calling Turki Al-Sheikh a dictator, right? Just burning bridges. I think he's got a screw loose. I think his team has a screw loose. I think they're very paranoid people. And it's a shame, man. He could have taken that fight. He could have won, and he could have kept going, right? But we don't even really know what's going to happen next. Yes, he's getting all cozy with the promoter, but that doesn't mean something's going to come out of it. That doesn't mean there's going to be all this trust in the long run, right? I mean, things could just fall apart, and where's he going to go to? I mean, the only person I think that's trying to lure him is perhaps Oscar De La Hoya, and what does he have for him? You know, things don't look good. I'm trying to make sense of it, but he's burning too many bridges, but he's still impressive. To me, I think that he's still the guy who was the lineal, legitimate champ at 135, lineal legitimate champ at 140. If he wants to keep moving up and taking these big fights, I mean, we got to pay attention. Like right now, I still think that he is the man.
It's pretty wild, guys. Every day it seems to be something new with Teofimo. For now, guys, the statement from his manager is he's on pause. He's going to take a break until well into the fall. So we can do away with the conversation. Devin Haney, that leaves a lot of mess at the current 135-pound division. Let's look at the landscape. But before we look at that landscape really quickly, guys, I'm sorry. Fonzie in the chat pointed it out. I wanted to say rest in peace to Leo Santa Cruz's father, who fought a hard battle with cancer, I believe more than once, went into remission. Jose Santa Cruz of Michoacan, my father's home state, Michoacan. Man, this guy had a lot of swag, and he led his son to multiple world championships. The great Jose Santa Cruz, rest in peace. 135-pound landscape. Remember all these Four Kings dialogue? Shit, but currently, guys, at 135, now that Lomachenko retires, we still got Shakur Stevenson. We got Gervonta Tank Davis, who'll be having a rematch with Lamont Roach this, August in Las Vegas. Raymond Murataya, surprisingly now, gets the big windfall, as he's most likely going to be elevated immediately to full champion status. And then, of course, Keyshawn Davis that fights this week. I'll ask you guys shortly about Keyshawn Davis because he's got a good challenger in front of him this weekend. And, of course, Abdullah Mason on that card, a potential front-runner candidate for a contender that could potentially fight against any of these guys. Let's talk about this division now. Now that Teofimo's out of the picture, I just showed you some of these guys. We got Keyshawn fighting Saturday. Drew, who's going to take over this division? Is it anybody, or will these four guys avoid each other like a plague?
I look at this division like Keyshawn. I think he's going to move up soon. I think he's outgrowing the division. I think he's too big. I think he's a big 135-pounder. I think out of these four, if I was to rank them right now, I will rank them Keyshawn, Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Murataya last. I look at it like this. Keyshawn and Shakur won't fight. I don't think Tank will fight anybody at all. If he even, Tank wouldn't even fight his shadow if you ask him to. Murataya is the wild card of this division. He's a wild card. I also consider Andy Cruz as a wild card. But I look at it like this. I think if I was to pick somebody right now to take over this division, I think it's going to be Andy Cruz in a couple fights. I think Andy Cruz could possibly beat all four of these guys. Right now, I think he could beat all four of these guys. But I think in the next 2 or 3 fights, I think Keyshawn leaves this division, knowing that none of the champions will fight him. So you have to figure Keyshawn is the WBO champion. Teo is the WBO 140-pound champion. That gives him the right to petition the WBO. They tell him that he's moving up, and it will bump him to become the mandatory for Teofimo, which will be an interesting fight, and probably another fight Teofimo would dunk, in my opinion. I think I look at it. I think Keyshawn Davis beats Teofimo right now
at 140, moving up in weight.
140. I think he wins the fight at 140, but there's a weakness to Keyshawn. Keyshawn. He moves in too fast, and he can open himself up to a counter shot.
Well, that's interesting because we got to break down that fight at the end of this show. But Chicano, let me get your take on this division. Do any of these guys fight each other? And I also want to point out that Andy Cruz is having an eliminator. Andy Cruz, the gold medalist that twice beat Keyshawn Davis as an amateur in the Olympics. Andy Cruz wins his next fight. He is the mandatory for Raymond Murataya, both different promotional outfits, but it leads the pathway to Andy Cruz becoming a world champion and having an opportunity to fight his nemesis in Keyshawn Davis. Do you think that's how it's going to play out, or you think You think the plans will be sabotaged?
I like it, man, and I like what Drew had to say too, man. I do think that Andrew Cruz could take this division over, possibly. I think he's at the right size, the right age, and I agree with Drew. I look at somebody like, what was the guy you were just talking about, Drew? Keyshawn. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's big. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a chance he might not be there too much longer, dude. And
He is big.
he's big and he's powerful, and I think he could just mow down a lot of these 135 pounders because he's just he's full of muscle, he's strong, he knows the sweet science. But as far as him taking on Tio, that would be a good fight. Who would win? I don't know, but I don't know if it would necessarily be a duck, in my opinion, respectfully, because I mean, I look at somebody like Keyshawn Davis, and well, he hasn't really fought anybody. I happen to really respect Teofimo Lopez's accolades. Like I said, we're talking about a multi-division lineal champ. He deserves to be fighting marquee fights, right? Not some guy who's never really fought anybody. I mean, if it happens naturally, that'd be cool. But if he's not facing them, I mean, I wouldn't call it a duck. Maybe he's not looking in Keyshawn's direction, and that would be fair. But I personally wouldn't call it a duck.
Yeah, you have a picture here, guys, of today's final stare down, I believe, or the press conference, and they did get into shoving each other, and you guys can clearly see that Keyshawn Davis, he looks like a freaking welterweight. He is huge for the size. Chicano has removed himself from the show, but thank you so much, Chicano. If you want to call back, please feel free. If you have to go, that's totally understandable. But guys, this is today's press conference. There was a stare down. There was a shoving match, one that Keyshawn got the best of, and you see the size difference, Drew. How long can Keyshawn stay at this weight class? He's very young. He could still melt down. But I agree with you, man. I think Keyshawn has big things in store for him leaving this weight class. I don't even know if he sticks around long enough for Andy Cruz to get an opportunity to fight him professionally at 135.
I think another name we haven't brought up yet is Abdullah Mason,
who is the co-main. He is the co-main, and he's asking for all the smoke already.
And yeah, and I look at he has more professional fights than Keyshawn, but Keyshawn's older than him by 5 years. But I look at it like this. I think Abdullah, he last couple of fights he was knocked down and everything, got up and got the knockout and everything. I think if we look at it, this division is going to be Abdullah Mason and Andy Cruz's division in the next year. I think Moyataya is a wild card, but I think he's out of all the champions, he's the easiest one to get. If you're looking to get a title right away, put yourself in the mix for unification, Moyataya will probably be the fight you want to take because he clearly lost. I thought he lost to Tevin Farmer when he fought Tevin Farmer. So I just look at it as in Tank. I think Tank he has 1 foot out the door already. I think Tank lost his life. I thought he lost the fight clearly. I scored at 8-4 Lamont Roach.
Do you think Tank's resume is weak?
Yes.
All right.
Tank has one of the weakest resumes in boxing. And people are going to play, Leo Santa Cruz. But here's the thing. You're bringing majority of your guys up from weight. What does that do for you? You're not fighting the guys in their prime at your weight. Like,
yeah, he does have I'm sorry, guys, but he does have a history of that, and it backfired tremendously against Lamont Roach, which is why we find ourselves having the rematch this summer in Las Vegas. But a great point about Abdullah Mason, he's asking for the smoke. He is the co-main event, Drew, and Teofimo Lopez was able to win his first world title with Top Rank with just 15 career pro fights, did the unthinkable and became world champion, upsetting the largely favorite Lomachenko in his 15th career fight. Goes on to become a superstar. Abdullah Mason, could he be that same guy? Could he be that guy? Interesting, Drew. Abdullah Mason, he's tasted the canvas twice. It was to a Mexican fighter recently. But Murataya has also tasted the canvas early in his career and in the early rounds, just like Abdullah Mason. I'm sure Top Rank would love to keep both 135-pound titles in-house. I'm sure if they could find a way to just make Raymond Murataya versus Abdullah Mason a fight, They would. I don't see Keyshawn Davis giving the fight to young Abdullah Mason. He probably moves up in weight and tries to get an opportunity against one of these title holders at 140. But we're going to move on to that in just a moment. Drew, I got some quick news to report. Thank you to everybody who's here, guys. I appreciate you all. Don't forget to that like button. But let's talk about the Four Kings era really quickly. We have been talking about them now. Tank Davis rematching. Devin Haney unable to get a fight. Looks absolutely piss poor in his comeback. Ryan Garcia is not going to be fighting for a while, Drew. I mentioned it on Monday. He had hand surgery. Did I show you guys that picture? I'm not sure if I still have that picture. But there's even more news now because Oscar De La Hoya, he's asking Ryan to take a whole year off now. Reportedly, Ryan has been talking to a surgeon because his shoulder is completely fucked up. It's also fucked up. Claims that's probably why he couldn't throw his right hand as much. And reported by the Ring magazine, Oscar De La Hoya, he's going to take a look at his shoulder now. I actually would like Ryan to take the entire year off. That would mean that he's only had one fight in roughly 2 years after the Devin Haney fight. Devin Haney can't get an opponent, can't get Teofimo to sign. Teofimo now claiming his head isn't in the right place. Teofimo today announces with his manager, I need a mental health break. And then, of course, the only one that's remaining active at the moment is Gervonta Tank Davis. Could you pick somebody from the Four Kings era that's still going to do something big? Is it going to be Teofimo? Is it going to be Tank? Are they going to fight each other? Again, guys, if you missed the news, Teofimo, TGB Promotions, is retweeting Teo in a tweet where Teo was dressed up saying business. Could that be a clue that Teo's on his way to sign with PBC?
Probably. I'm going to address this comment 2 times. Anybody who says Tank is a weight bully is a moron. He's a tiny lightweight. All right, it's time to address something here with this dude. When you bring somebody up, when you are at a weight class, when you bring somebody up from a lower weight class, and that's what you've been doing, and half of them, tell you the truth, they're not really known or they're beaten already, or they've just been exposed already, it makes your resume weak. I don't understand what your point is. Lamont Roach wasn't even a regular 4 champion at 130. And then he brings up Hector Garcia from a 130-pound champion. Then he brings up Neo Santa Cruz, which fights at, didn't he fight at 126?
He was a featherweight. Yeah, he briefly fought at 130, but he was mainly a career bantamweight, super bantamweight, featherweight.
I need this dude to stop bringing up the excuse that he's a tiny lightweight. It doesn't matter how tall he is. He's been fighting at lightweight for a long time. He even went to 140 and beat Barrios. And even after even after he had a dehydration clause. Yeah,
I think
let's look at it like this.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the fighters, the Barrios fight was a rehydration clause. The Ryan Garcia was a rehydration clause, and everything. Let's look at it like this. He beat those guys, yeah, but he had rehydration clause. Could they use that as an excuse? No, because they signed the contract and agreed to the terms of that contract. So let's keep it a bean here. Even though they agreed to the terms of the contract, and even though he brought up motherfuckers from 130 and 126, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can say he's a 130-pounder naturally. He moved up in weight. So who gives a fuck if he's a natural 130-pounder? He's been fighting at 135 for fucking almost 5 fucking years now. So let's keep it a bean here. He fucking brought up fighters, the only fighters the only two fighters in recent memory that he did not bring up was Frank Martin, which was really untested, and Ryan Garcia. He actually brought him back down from 140 at 136, and he had a rehydration clause. So let's keep it a bean. Don't say if you're gonna call somebody a moron and anything for saying facts, dude. Go ahead and call him a moron. But to tell you the truth, you might want to look in the mirror at the end of the day, man, about being a moron because your points don't make sense, man. All the evidence is there. Go look at the evidence, man. And then at the end of the day, if you still want to call somebody a moron, call somebody a moron. But once the replies, you're not gonna like the reply that you're gonna get. Look in the mirror and you see what a moron looks like.
Drew, just to play devil's advocate, he has very impressive wins against fighters that are heavier. The Mario Lopez stoppage, the Ryan Garcia stoppage. Again, those all come with caveats. I think those were prime examples of the influence TMT had and Floyd Mayweather had in manufacturing a perfect career. Under TMT, to the casual fan, because they really branched out, the way they manufactured Adrian Broner's career, moving up and becoming world champions in multiple weight classes, 4 of them to be exact, was the same formula they used early on with Gervonta Tank Davis's career. So when you look at the type of fighters or the weight classes or the rehydration clauses, it looks like Gervonta Tank Davis is this incredible slugger, puncher, boxer with high acumen, boxing IQ. But it all came with caveats, like you just mentioned. Either he was bringing up champions that were past their prime, like Leo Santa Cruz, who had been in many wars from lower weight classes to deliver an outstanding knockout, or he was moving up to 140 and picking Mario Barrios, who at the time was probably the weakest champion at 140, stuck a rehydration limit.
Which was 5'10", do you say 6
Yeah,
foot tall?
it looks impressive. It looked very impressive to the casual boxing fan, which is why Tank Davis has become a pay-per-view star, is a pay-per-view star. But if you compare it to the way Teofimo became a world champion at 15 career fights against a pound-for-pound fighter like Lomachenko, not against a weak champion, not against somebody with a vacant belt, but again, Teofimo in his 15th career fight of these 4 kings, Teofimo beat champion after champion to clean out the 135 division, then goes on to beat the lineal champion in Josh Taylor. None of these things you could say about Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, could Gervonta Tank Davis have had the same success following that harder career path? Maybe, but we didn't get to see that. And now we're going to see a rematch between Lamont Roach, a fight that if you believe in the rules of boxing, he lost that last fight. He should have been awarded his first career loss.
I'm going to look at it like this. Guys in the chat, everybody got a right to their opinion.
Yes, indeed.
And it's okay. I'm going to be honest. I'm up for all the smoke. You want to give me insulting comments, go ahead. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at comments, and I'm sorry you broke your mirror when looking at it, man. I'm just going to be honest with you, man. But at the end of the day, I'm here for all the smoke. If you don't like my opinion, I seriously don't give a fuck at the end of the day.
Hey, guys, if you're new to the Shoe Shine, I know some of you are new here, guys. This is basically the same shit that happens in a barber shop, or maybe you can remember working in a warehouse and you come in Monday morning and you talk at the water cooler with your homies that actually watch the sport of boxing. This is the inspiration for the show, the Shoe Shine, guys. I worked in a warehouse over 20 years ago. I did amateur boxing. I did Muay Thai boxing, and I could not wait to talk to my coworkers about boxing. Excuse me. On Monday morning, I could not wait to talk about what went down in the sport. We're going to disagree. That's perfectly okay. We're going to have feelings about certain fighters. Go ahead, Drew.
You know what, Dave? I'm going to explain. I got to explain this to this dude. How does Teo get credit for beating a small 135-pounder? That's a weight. But here's the thing. That 135-pounder has been in that division for a while. He was practically one title away from being undisputed and dominated the division. Lomachenko and everything. That 135-pounder has been fighting in that division. And he's going to get credit. And, let's look at it now. If Loma didn't have back issues, I believe Loma could have beat some of those guys at 140. So let's look at it like this now. You gotta stop with defending Tank, number one. He moved up to 140. Even though it was a weight hydration clause, he moved to 140 and beat a 140 pounder and won a regular belt. Stop right there. Tank Davis, I understand you're a Tank fanboy. I really appreciate you for defending him and everything. But come on, bro, you gotta stop with the bad art with your bad points, man. Because I'm gonna go back and forth with you, and you're gonna get more pissed off at me, and you're gonna tell me you broke another mirror and everything. And I think you don't want to pay for another mirror for you. You don't want to buy another mirror. So, dude, understand you're a Tank fanboy, man. But every point you come up with, I'm gonna rebut it. I'm gonna come back with something that makes more sense than what you're talking about. Like, let's put a point. Your boy ducked Lomachenko for years. So let's keep it a bean here, man. Tank Davis, his resume is weak compared to most of the elites now. And it wouldn't mean nothing. It does not gonna mean shit if Lamont Roach beats him in a rematch and they actually give it to him. This is the same dude you're defending that took a knee and said, I had something in my eye. That's a knockdown because he took a punch before that knee. But let's get back to it, man, because I think our boy here is getting educated enough today. I don't want him breaking no more mirrors and everything because I don't want to get cut, and then I'm gonna feel bad about it for like 5 minutes, and then after that I'm gonna say that's his own damn fault.
Well, guys, we got a big fight this Saturday night. Keyshawn Davis defends his lightweight title. We talked about him earlier. He defends his title against Edwin De Los Santos. Edwin De Los Santos, 16 wins, 2 losses. His most memorable beatdown, in my opinion, was the war he was involved with Jose El Rayo Valenzuela, who won a title at 140 pounds. Bro, they went into a slugfest in that one, and Rayo Valenzuela went down in rounds 2 and 3. De Los Santos really cemented himself as a huge power puncher, 16-2. Then gets an opportunity to fight the defensive-minded Shakur Stevenson, which was one of the most boring fights ever on T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And somehow, he has not fought in well over a year with tons of ring rust. Thinks he's going to knock out Keyshawn Davis. Let's look at the odds. According to DraftKings.com, guys, Keyshawn Davis currently is a negative 650 favorite. If you bet $100 on Edwin De Los Santos, you will win $450 on top of your $100. Edwin De Los Santos, a massive underdog, and yet a lot of people think that he can upset Keyshawn Davis, the silver Olympic medalist. I, for one, don't see it, guys. In fact, I think, quite honestly, I think that Keyshawn could probably stop him. Here's the thing, guys. Edwin De Los Santos was not able to apply the pressure on a strong defensive fighter like Keyshawn, like Shakur Stevenson. He was not able to touch him. If Keyshawn wants to play that game, if Keyshawn tastes his power and is like, fuck, okay, I got to change my strategy. I need to make adjustments. Keyshawn's going to do it. He's going to make the adjustments, and he's going to box in places. He's going to choose to fight. He's not going to be an idiot about it. He's going to come out victorious in this fight. But there is that element of danger that Edwin De Los Santos could potentially hurt Keyshawn Davis. But if you look at the size, if you look at how big for a lightweight Keyshawn Davis is, I'm thinking he can take Edwin's best punch. And that's just what I'm thinking. I favor Keyshawn Davis. What's your take on this fight?
I think this ends inside 5. I really think so. I think this is a guy Shakur struggled with, in my opinion. He really puts out some flaws in Shakur's game, and I think Keyshawn takes him inside 5 rounds. I think anybody that Keyshawn Davis fights in this 135, he knocks out. I just think it's how it is. I really think he knocks anybody out 135 right now. But I'm saying it ends inside 5.
That's pretty. That's man. I find it hard to end in 5 rounds because I've seen Keyshawn Davis fight in person, and he likes to take his time setting up people. But I think he gets a stoppage. Nonetheless, true. Maybe in the later rounds, somewhere between 9 and 11, I think he does get the stoppage. Now let's move on to the co-main event because Abdullah Mason, as young as he is really progressing faster than most contenders at Top Rank. He's calling for the smoke. He's calling for a title opportunity against the guy at the top of the bill. He's fighting Jeremiah Nakatila, who's best remembered for fighting Shakur Stevenson and really looking like shit in that fight too. Shakur makes everybody look bad with his style. But at least Jeremiah is got a lot of experience, and it is a solid name on his resume. It is truly somebody that should provide some pushback. Abdullah Mason is a heavy favorite, even more so than the main event, negative 2,500. I'm going to go ahead and say that this one ends in stoppage as well for Abdullah Mason. What do you guys think? Abdullah Mason wins this one by stoppage. Does he go the distance? Does he get upset? Drew, what's your take on this one?
I think he wins by knockout, Abdullah Mason. And I think him winning all the smoke, I think he's doing the right thing. I think he thinks he's at the right time of his career, that he needs to step up, and he's asking his promoter to give him step-up competition, which I can appreciate and everything, because you know how Top Rank is being with some of the fighters and everything. They're slowly developing them, and it turns out to be a mistake doing it. It turned out to be a mistake with Jared Big Baby Anderson. It might be it might happen to Rich Torres. It happened to Nick Ali Walsh and everything. I just really think you need to step him up before he falls into that category. But I could see him winning it by knockout. It might be difficult for the first couple rounds, but we'll see how it is after that. But if we're gonna look at it, I think within the next fight or two, he will probably put himself into contention to fight Muay Thai or something, or Keyshawn, and Keyshawn might vacate to move up, and Abdullah will be fighting for a vacated title. So might work out for him, but I want to get, I look at it. At the end of the day, they need to really figure out what they have. They need to know what they have with Abdullah Mason by now. And it's time, like he's asking, give me the step-up competition, give me the smoke, give the kid a smoke. You really, you're going to have to know, because you don't even know what network you're going to. You're done. Your contract is done after next month with ESPN. And you got to do something for the kid now, because now you don't know where you're going. You need to get this kid the big fights now, and you need to help him make money. At least give him to that kid, because if he's going to go to Turkey Al Sheikh and get a fight, let him get a fight there. Even though I think American fighters think they don't need Turkey, and hey, more power to them. They don't think they need Turkey. I think Turkey is being bad for American boxing. I am not keeping that a secret. I think for American boxing fans, they think of him as shit, and I think of him as shit too, because he's taken all our big fights away and taken on Saudi Arabia. Hopefully he does not do this to the Canelo-Terence Crawford fight and everything. But I look at it as in Top Rank has to do a lot better job with matchmaking. And that's how I feel about it.
Hey, Drew, on this same card, guys, Tiger Johnson is on this card at welterweight. This guy actually has a real live body in front of him. Boca Chica is a Puerto Rican fighter that I've been watching since he appeared on Showtime Boxing. Boca Chica has some pretty impressive sparring footage, fucking up world champions, excuse my language, and as well as current welterweight champion Brian Norman Jr. he's dropped him. Like, he really almost came close to winning that an explosive fight against Brian Norman Jr. To be honest, Tiger Johnson, the sky is the limit for him, but he has a real test in front of him this weekend on that Saturday card. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Janelson Figueroa Boca Chica can hurt Tiger Johnson. Tiger Johnson is in for a real fight. Boca Chica is one of these guys who just really hasn't fully realized his complete potential. He may shock us. He may show us something. As good as Tiger Johnson is, sometimes guys become too confident and maybe they don't take an opponent seriously. Boca Chica is a very dangerous, hard-hitting Puerto Rican fighter. He could very well hurt him, could very well drop him, could very well make this a close fight. Or we're going to see Tiger Johnson level up and show us, man, I could beat these fringe contender type guys that are ready to give me a good fight. That is going to be a good welterweight fight. There are some pretty serious boxing cards this weekend, tons of them, international, that I wanted to give some quick mention, as well as Pro Box TV. Shout out to my boy Lucas Cattell of BoxingScene.com, who comes on the channel. Obviously, Saturday night, you guys can watch Pro Box for free. They got a card. Also, this weekend, starting Friday, Drew, you remember that fighter, Franchon Cruz Dezern?
Yeah.
Yeah, she fought, what's her name? Early in her career, she fought the current heavyweight champion. Why am I forgetting her name? Big star. Anyway, Clarissa Shields. She's fighting tomorrow night against a Mexican girl that's only 5'3", and everybody's telling me, and Franchon is like 5'8", 5'9". I met her when she won her first world title here in Las Vegas. She's fighting a Mexican girl that's 5'3", but they say this Mexican girl can crack and has like almost all knockouts. That's going to be very interesting to me. I'll be looking at that fight on Friday night. Also, huge names in the sport. Junto Nakatani fights Nishida in a unification, and Junto Nakatani is just like 1 or 2 fights away from cementing a deal to fight Inoue. Junto Nakatani defends his title, could be adding another title to it. My favorite cruiserweight, Jayo Pitaya, is going to be fighting is he Australian? No, who's Claudio? Anyway, he's fighting Claudio. Jayo Pitaya fights, he's a 6,000 to 1 favorite. Jayo Pitaya, cruiserweight, who you guys got to keep your eye on him because he may be getting those unifications we want to see against the likes of fighters like Zurdo Ramirez. Yeah, she's like the female Pitbull Cruz. Yeah, she really could be something. It could be a very interesting fight because size makes all the difference. Shout out to Paul M. Good to see you. Says hello to SB. Big Spooky. Good to see you as well, guys. We're almost there wrapping it up. And of course, I mentioned Justin Paldo versus Juan Carlos Burgos on Pro Box on YouTube. Also, I forgot to mention this, Drew, but Kelvin Davis, the brother of Keyshawn, is also fighting. You know, the brothers, brothers, all 3 of them. He's fighting Nahir Albright, who I believe had a pretty good fight against Keyshawn himself. May have hurt. So it's like a revenge match. So how well can Kelvin Davis do? He's only a slight favorite at -200, man. Well, Drew, it's been a good show. Appreciate everybody that's been here. If you like what we guys do, hey, feel free to hit the subscribe button. It's free. Leave us a comment. If you don't like what we said, leave us a comment. Engage with us. Let's continue the conversation on our platform right here. Appreciate everybody. This was a big week, Drew. Big news. Teal's not going to be fighting for a while. Ryan Garcia's got surgery. Lomachenko calls it a career. Lots to take in, man. What's the final word from Drew Evo?
Final word. You got somebody in chat that likes to break their mirror.
God.
And tell you the truth, man, it's a lot of funny shit, man. Like fun. Boxing has turned in more of a joke now, to be honest. I think boxing is more of a joke. I look at it as in I look at it as like I haven't played my Undisputed game in a while because I've been playing these Yakuza games and everything, but I've been making funny characters out of real people. And it makes me look at them, reminds me of them. I was like, oh, I gotta make character. I'm gonna make them look bad, make them look funny as shit. And I did. And I'm thinking about doing a career mode with that person. Let's see, but I don't know. Like I've really been thinking lately of was boxing's been and everything. And boxing with all this bullshit is becoming more of a joke day after day. And I think a lot of people will agree with me that boxing's becoming more of a joke. And it's a shame.
Well,
and everything.
let's not get into the whole Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend, Drew, as well as Vinny Paz. And he may very well be the only boxer that is a Hall of Fame fighter, Hall of Fame boxer, and fighting in the same calendar year. That's kind of a charade. And it brings us to July 19th, undisputed. Again, the rematch. The first one was incredible. The first one, I kind of think Dubois landed a legitimate legal shot in the very first one. But nonetheless, man, Dubois going to get a rematch opportunity. He has one belt, an opportunity for Usyk to become undisputed. And Drew, when you say boxing is a joke, it certainly feels that way to American fans when our best American fighters don't want to fight each other, or they can't agree, and even $11 million isn't enough to motivate you. But damn, the UK fans, man, 80,000 people will be at this fight. 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium.
Just to see Daniel Dubois get knocked out. I'm sorry, I gotta look at it.
That remains to be seen.
It doesn't justify. Like, people can question that, but it looked more like a borderline low blow, and to the referee's discretion. But at the end of the day, it doesn't help when you absolutely quit after getting knocked down with a jab, and with a jab by that guy later on in the fight. It doesn't help your point. It doesn't help your argument about that. When that you quit, that you didn't want to continue after getting knocked down with a jab. I'm sorry. It's how it is.
Well, will they sell you on the rematch, Drew? This is not supposed to be the same Dubois that ended up quitting in that fight. Is he really a legitimate threat this time around, man? At least on Saturday, July 19th, we're going to have to see a full day of boxing. I still got to figure out how I'm going to go see the Manny Pacquiao fight.
I really think he ducked the Parker fight. I think he didn't want to fight. I think they said he got sick. He pulled out. I think he ducked that fight. I think he didn't think he could beat Joseph Parker. I think Joseph Parker should have got his shot before this fight.
All right.
And I don't care what anybody says. I think Joseph Parker should have got his shot. And I think Joseph Parker should fight the winner of this fight.
I agree with you on that, Drew. It's been a great show. Monday night, we'll be back, Drew, 7:30 p.m., 7:45, 8 o'clock. Make sure you guys hit that notification. Thank you so much to the best mod out there, SB, and everybody that joined us. Salute again to my boy, Wile E. Coyote. I'm Dave in the 702, Philly Irish. I'll see you next Monday, All right? Peace out, everybody. Peace.